The Investec Working Lunch is about making business as well as banking a little bit more personal. In this episode, we will be talking about programmable banking, but a little bit more about the adaptability of businesses and ensuring that our needs are always taken care of first. We'll be able to chat to Yoko's head of customer experience, that's Evelyn Griffioen, and we'll also then try to talk about programmable banking with Investec's Davina Maharaj. Offerzen also speaks to us. Their co-founder joins us, that's Milan Hubert, as we get into how best his business has also adapted to the changing times. That's The Working Lunch with myself, Arabile Gumede, hosted, of course, by Investec. All right, folks, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Absolutely excellent to be able to have you guys join us again then for the Working Lunch with Investec. And I think the conversation the last time I sat here was so interesting that I'd love to just continue to have similar conversations, right? And the world of business, the world of money, the world as we know it has completely changed. And that is what we're going to talk about again here, how we continue to find different ways to change business, different ways to change how people do things. And this time around, we're speaking about programmable banking. And I suppose that goes straight into your wheelhouse then, Davina. Let's talk about what that is. What is programmable banking?
So everybody asks this question, and I think just to make sure that it's not complicated, because programmable often sounds like it's quite scary. Yeah. I think really it is a way to access your finances, either if you're an individual or a business, using APIs and a programmable card that allows you to personalize your banking experience, if that makes sense. Sure. I think we've realized that as a bank, we cannot be arrogant in the sense to know that we know everything about you as the client, and we understand your context. And so I think what we're trying to do is, with programmable banking, give you the tools that's necessary to help you create a banking experience that is meaningful for you. We realize that the perfect bank doesn't exist for everyone. Yeah. And in trying to create an experience that is relevant to each and every client, we needed to give you tools rather than just giving you products. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So how has the sort of change been in terms of understanding, of course, that you'd have to ensure the customer is the first thing you look after, as opposed to just making sure that you push out the right product. Now it's about making sure that they actually take on the right product from you.
I think I've been with Investec 20 years. Sure. And they drum it into your DNA that it's all about the human relationship and the client. So I don't think that's been a real DNA shift for us. Okay. I think where we've had to shift perceptions and mindsets a little bit as a company has been really about how does technology play into that human relationship and what does it actually mean? So we've had to ponder a lot about how do you actually bring in the humanity of technology and what it means, because we've always wanted to keep that humanness about all of our relationships. Because even when you talk about, and we've just launched our Business Made Human campaign, but at the end of the day, we know that the real magic happens when you have people doing amazing things with technology. And that interaction is, I think, where we are kind of hoping to kind of lead.
Yeah, so are you having to do a lot more of the legwork in terms of, understanding your customers is one thing, and that means you kind of have to go to a lot of these small businesses that would like to have a Yoko device in there, right? So you kind of have to engage with them quite a lot, right? How taxing is that on your business and having to change the way you do things?
Yeah, so it's actually quite interesting. I think very similar to what Davina said. It's in the DNA of Yoko to look at the customer, to want to understand, to want to help. Everybody's at Yoko because we want to help that customer, right? And there's a lot of respect for that customer. But yeah, we need to go out and talk to them and understand and make sure that we are not making decisions based on biases or things that we think we know. Well, if we go out there and we are in their space, their context, and having conversations, we're like, whoa, that's very different. And I think that's the difference between also knowledge and actually having empathy. That comes from connection. Empathy comes from connection. So we started 2.5 years ago with building a customer insight team with researchers that would go out. We went all over the country into people's businesses, sometimes into their house, into their home, and there's like kids running around, and you understand that life is not, and it's being a business owner is you're everything. You're the marketing, but also you're the mom in between, and so all these things, and you can only get to that understanding and empathy if you go and connect, and that's obviously where last year was an interesting challenge.
Sure.
But yeah, I can tell a little bit more about that. But we managed to.
We'll definitely touch on it. I think the impact of COVID on trying to find better solutions, whether it be in the banking space, whether it be in just the job solution space as well, that must have been something to look out for. Davina, if we come to you, then there's also the sense of saying, exactly like Yoko, you kind of have to make sure you get the client needs first, and then look inward as a bank and say, how best can we offer a solution for that, right? Has banking changed now completely in that sense, that even as Investec, you're looking at it from that way, as opposed to what looked like before? It was, here's what we offer, take it or leave it.
Yeah, I think not only banking, I think every industry has, that's become a reality. Your clients are more in the power position in terms of defining what the new service model is going to be like, what the new products are going to be needed. And I think what we're realizing is that everything is now real time. Instant.
Yeah.
And especially in the last 2 years where COVID has come about, it's forced people to become far more comfortable with technology and living in a digital world, if that makes sense. And it's accelerated that. So I think what we're finding is that every single, whether you're talking about a business strategy at a bank or an individual client strategy, whether you Yoko or as a tech company, we recognize as Investec, we are not a tech company, we are a bank.
Yeah.
And yet technology plays a huge role in meeting our clients' needs.
Right.
So in order for us to do that, we need to collaborate with people who are at the coalface, I think, in terms of what we're trying to achieve. So our approach has been that we are collaborating with companies like OfferZen because we know that is not our expertise. Banking is our expertise. And there's value in that, but the real magic is going to happen where we collaborate with different experts in the industry to do that. So our collaboration with OfferZen is very much about us saying, how do we collaborate with disruptors, like you're saying, of the future.
Yeah.
And if we can actually tap into software engineers and developers and really get them to help us build solutions for our clients that are going to kind of take us into a whole new world, yet to be defined.
Yeah, of course.
That is truly exciting for me.
Sure. And one imagines, though, that you must have been nervous as a bank too, perhaps, getting into a space where you just thought to yourselves, well, we need to try and figure out how we're going to fit in this, what looks like a newish ecosystem, right?
So I think it's always scary. I think if you are any business in this day and age and you're not having sleepless nights about what your future is going to look like, I think you're not living in reality. And I think every business is trying to, we often talk at Investec about, as a bank, are you having an identity crisis? Are you a bank? Should you become a tech company? Everyone says everyone needs to be a tech company. And I think the reality here is that you just need to be able to adapt. It's like every human being. You don't know what you're going to be in a year's time. Yeah. And it's about saying, I'm willing to change. And I think as an organization, we at Investec are saying we're willing to morph into what our client wants us to be in the future. But banking is what we do, and there's huge value in the trust that people place with banks, and I think that's interesting dynamic.
Yeah, you spoke about the immediacy of it, right, and how everything is just so instant now. Your morphing kind of has to be on a continued basis, though, right? You don't stop, really, do you?
No, and that's why I love my job. I always feel like every time I wake up in the morning, I know less than 1% of what I should know. Because like things are changing so constantly in the space. And every time I speak to Milan or I speak to somebody from a tech company like Yoko, there's like a million things that I learned that I have no idea, and that I was even meant to know. And I think that's the reality. If you think of our business clients or individual clients, companies need to start to realize that we don't know what we don't know. Like that's the reality. And if we're not constantly learning from our clients and engaging with them at a deep level, that's the big deal. So I think we are basing our strategy on one simple fact, is that business of the future really is about deeper connections.
Yeah.
System connections, human connections, but they both need to be real time, and they both need to be deep and entrenching.
The difficulty of trying to have a deeper connection in a time where there's no touch connection, though, is also, right, a bit of a sticking point. And that comes back to your point then as well, Evelyn, where you needed to engage with people, right? You needed to engage with your customers, these small businesses that maybe needed kind of your services in a different way. How do you then engage with them, especially over the last, let's say, 18 months odd?
Yes, I think one of the things is that our brand team, which, there's some amazing people there, have taken their first response was not to go and tell small business what to do, but just listen. Organize sessions where people could, join and tell us what's changing, how is it impacting them, how is it impacting people differently, what are they trying to do to respond, and that's how we kind of were like, okay, so what can we then do, right? So that's the one thing. I think the other thing, I've got a couple of amazing people in my research team, in my customer insight team, that have just figured out how to connect with small business owners through Zoom, and found partners to work with who are in the areas where we would normally otherwise go to ourselves, but also in areas where where I would not feel comfortable sending my teams, right? There's enough dangerous areas in South Africa, but we do have clients there, we do have customers there, there's lots and lots of small businesses there, and we actually now, because of our sort of switch and really diving deep into how do we use Zoom and all these things and their mobile phones and WhatsApp diaries and all these things to connect with customers, and we've actually been able to go deeper and find those customers that we weren't able to connect with earlier. So that's really amazing. I think the one thing that was quite scary for us in the beginning is like, how do we not lose the context that they're in? Sure. So we've been really, and that's where WhatsApp diaries have been like, it's super simple really, right? Everybody already uses WhatsApp. It's just like, can you take a video of us, of your shop? Can you ask a customer to tell us what they think about your business? Can you show us what your desk looks like with all the paper and what book, all of those kind of things. So we figured out, like, through using the tools that are already there, working with partners, how to still get all of that information. And we're saving a lot of time on moving around the country. So of course, yeah. It's been really interesting, and I don't think I would have been, if I would have been forced to push my teams to go and find other ways, then we would still be doing things the same way. And so in that way, it has also taught us so much about what's possible and how we can use technology to reach people, work with partners, work with people that are in those areas and those spaces. So it's actually been really amazing. We can have we have cross-functional teams around our products and things that we're trying to solve, and because we're doing these things remote now, we can set up a Zoom conversation with someone somewhere in Umlazi who's on the phone, and we've got everyone else in the team joining that meeting, asking questions and listening and
finding the right solution.
Yes, exactly. I wouldn't have been able to take that whole team into Umlazi, right?
Yeah.
So technology has also given us so much opportunity to connect.
Sure.
I love that WhatsApp video.
It's so
those are
great.
I think those are great ideas, right?
Yeah.